let's continue with the orthogonal drawing, and let's just zoom in to see what we've got in this template that you'll be working in. Essentially what you have is an incomplete drawing of a right hand side sectional view, the top view indicating the section that will be drawn on the right hand side, and the front view minus the actual vehicle. Let me just get rid of these guides, that's a bit better. So you can see what you have is what will be the same for every single design completed by every single student. Essentially what you're bringing in is the variation. Your design, however, will require to have the same kind of wheels, the same kind of base, and it will be giving the same section. So you'll be slicing through the same point, through the wheels, through the axle, and the corresponding drawing is already complete. Your job is to complete the actual body of the toy and show hatch marks and whatever else is required. You'll see that we have dimension lines and projection lines. This is the projection line, this is the dimension line, and they all kind of correspond to a drawing that was there. I think it was called the fire truck, which I just removed so I can just paste in a new design and show you how we can modify the existing dimension lines to suit the new drawing. So let me put back the guidelines, control colon, and we're back with all that that needs to be there to help us locate our additions. You'll also notice that at the bottom there's a title box in which you've got to put information. Don't take this literally, please remove whatever's there and put in the appropriate information. And when working with any one of these objects, it corresponds to a specific layer, so please work in the correct layer for the thing that you're doing. Don't just randomly work in any layer. So they're titled, so the dimension lines, for example, are called dimensions. The views, front, top, single layers, but the right hand side view is a bit more complex, so it requires that we use two layers, and they'll become clear when we actually work on this side. And it's a good habit to lock layers that won't be engaged in a particular part of the drawing, so you don't kind of find yourself working in layers that you shouldn't be. Okay, look, it seems fairly complex, but it's there as a friend. It's there to help you, not to make it more complex, but to make it simpler, a simpler exercise. Alrighty, let's move along. So we've got our initial drawing of our toy car. We copy that, Control C, and we can now go into our orthogonal presentation drawing, and I might just zoom in, Control plus, and the little space bar, get the little hand going, and Control F. Now Control F paste in front, not Control V would paste to the middle of your format. Control F paste to the same location in which you cut whatever it was. And even though we're cutting between two different files, because the files are the same dimension and they're in the same location, then these will make sense once you paste it in. But this is a little bit askew, so there I've just rectified that. I pushed it to the left a little bit. Alrighty, so now we have a new drawing with kind of placed in the wrong layer. So Um, hmm, let's take that out and put it in the correct layer. Control X. Let's go to the front view and go. I didn't. Control X. That's better. Go to the front view. Control F. Right. We know we are in the correct layer when we select an object and it colors the vector. It also highlights the layer, and there's a little blue bar on this particular layer that corresponds to the actual vector coloring as well. Um, we can lock that front view now because we don't want it to move around as we play around with dimensions. Now these dimensions, some are accurate, some are totally out. Um, these the wheel dimensions, the diameter and the radius. Now these you don't have to worry about because they are true for all of the toys. Okay, what you have to modify is whatever happens above this line, whatever changes. So your drawing could be have a toy that is lower but can't be taller. So I'm going to leave that at 75 because that's the height of my toy. This makes no sense anymore, so I've got to modify that particular dimension. I've got to modify this. I've got to add this height to it, and that's just the front. Then we've got to deal with what goes onto the top, and the top corresponds exactly, it's aligned exactly to the front view, and we'll work on some guides that'll help us to actually transfer the lines from the front view to the top view. Alrighty, now guides help us organize all the information in the drawing, objects, lines. So we need to drag down from the ruler guides and locate them wherever our drawing starts to go in, go out, changes in height, changes in width. And this will be really important later. It will help us to create our projection lines. One goes there, one here, and let's drag one down to here. Okay, a bit more space for you to see what's happening. It was a bit creative there. Let's locate now the correct position of these projection lines and lengthen the dimension lines. Let's put those guides back so we can actually accurately place that projection line there. Nice. We can take this now and take it all the way up. Not all the way up because there are issues with my dimension lines because I made them in CS4. CS4 projection lines have a weird relation to the arrowhead. Lines that are converted to arrows, in fact, don't work as smoothly, unlike CS6 where the arrow is the arrowhead is inclusive of the line, whereas in CS4 the arrowhead is an addition to the line. So to get around that problem, to find out the correct height of this particular part of the object, we need to use a ruler, and you'll find the ruler under the eyedropper. So it's a measure tool, and we can hold the shift key and just drag down until we hit the spot. There we go, and it says 53.4. So I'm just going to go 53.5. There we go, and done. All right, so now you'll have to actually dimension or fix the dimensions on this drawing on both sides in this case, and I've gone for rounding off my measurements. Yeah, look, you might as well do it the same, just round things off, and make sure it just tallies up to 75. It sounds like cheating, but you know, What can you do? Now we have a little issue here. So I've got this line here I've got to include. Let's bring back the projection lines. So we need to create a little projection line here to indicate the height of this little section. So what we've got to do is, there's something really easy. We can just copy that and paste it up here. But before we do, well, this detail has to be moved, and it can be moved to the right on in this space here. Otherwise, it could be put down here. Yeah. So maybe we'll put it down here. We can go take that, and of course the radius refers to the hollow that receives the wheel. And let's take this arrow and transform it, and let's reflect it. Okay, so that's not quite working, but I'll make it work in a moment. You can do this. Alright, now I'm free to put some detail here. So as we said, we are just going to copy this. Control C, Control F, arrow upward, and the shift key gives me chunky moves. Oh look, it's the same height almost. Therefore, we've got 25, 25, 25. What a nice division of parts. So I'm just going to take that, Control C, Control F, and take it up. There you go. And we're done. So I could put another 25 here again, but obviously it has to be 25. There's no other thing it could be. So I'm just going to leave that information out, because you only put information that is required, and anything that's pretty obvious as that is really kind of unnecessary. So let's just zoom out. Okay, so we've got now a dimensioned view of the front, and now we have to take these lines vertically up. So we've got our guides to help us do that. Now what you'll see at the top are all these broken lines. These broken lines refer to parts of the object that are not visible, the wheel and the axle. Let's bring back our guides. We're going to go and drag guides to all these parts. Now we have projection lines going up, and because these lines are visible, they will be solid, not broken. However, we're in a bit of a quandary concerning where we place, if we place this particular line, because it's going to go over the information that's hidden. The tendency is in a technical drawing to not overly confuse hidden parts with the visible parts. We have now our guidelines. Let's use them. So we can use our line tool, and we can take press down the shift key, drag down, and where it says, it should come up as intersect, and there we have it. We have a solid line made of no color. Okay, let's make sure that we stroke it with black. There we go. And let's find it. Let's just kind of move it across a little bit. go, spot on. And there's our first line. Let's now take the other lines. Look, you can cheat. It's not cheating, it's just common sense. They're all going to be the same height, so you might as well use that line and repeat it again and again. So Control C, Control F. So that's a top view, showing the solid lines and showing hidden information. So let's go back out again. We have just completed the top view. It's simple as that. All thanks to guides. We're missing one guide here. Let's just put this guide in place as well, and one on the other side, the other extremity. Okay. Now we only need to dimension parts, the same parts once, and things which are identical, like the sawtooth roof triangles, only one has to be dimensioned. If the spaces are the same, then it's presumed to be the same if you haven't actually mentioned them to be different. Alright, so we need, so we've already got our length, so we don't have to include that. All we need to include are these spaces here. So let's take, you can go to the Lines and Simple file, and there I've got for you little projection lines ready to go. They're at 0.5, and we would like some vertical ones, and you can use the dimension lines. So if you want to select multiple objects in Illustrator or even Photoshop, it's Shift key. So we've got two objects now, Control C. All that work that I did before in dimensions rather than the top view. So strictly speaking, what I should do is take them out and put them in the correct layer, but can we do that? Let's do that. There they are. They're all there. Control X, and unlock the top view, and selected. Control F, and now they are in their native layer. Let's go back to Lines and Symbols, and Control C, Control V. Righto. So here now our line we just copied, and here's the arrow. Now of course you can make your own, and I should show you how to make your own. So let me just delete that, and I'll just delete that. Okay, so making arrows in CS6, which I haven't done all that often. Let's see. We have to start with our guides first. So let's take a line for a walk. You start, hold the Shift key, and give it a dimension of some kind. That'll do nicely. Make sure it's 0.5, because the last thing I clicked on was 0.5. It has remembered that, so it's giving me that automatically. We don't want a thick line unless you're doing a section view, so we want 0.5. Creating arrows in CS6 is simple enough. Just go to the the stroke dialog box, and you'll find options that you can choose from. However, in CS4 you'll need to go to Effect and find the appropriate adjustment of the line to arrowheads there. Right, so we've got one of these. Control C, Control F. I like using Control F mainly because I can just place things on the very same level as what I copied. So there are our two guides, and what I want to do now is take a dimension line. We've got two projection lines. Now we've got the task of a dimension line. I can do that. I can align it exactly there. There it is. And I can take I need to take one more of these, Control C F, and place it. Chunky moves, a shift key please. As you get closer, release the shift key, and that's it. So how does that become an arrow? So you go to, if you're in CS6, you go to the stroke or line tool here. It gives you different weights, but you can, let's see, normally the options aren't visible, so you're going to show options, and what you get is this option here, arrowheads. Right, see how that fits exactly? So the arrows are inclusive of the line, but in CS4 you'll have a couple of issues because the arrowheads are additional to the line, so they'll exceed these projection lines. To continue with our dimensioning, we can just copy and paste and Control C, Control F, then make little adjustments just to correct the actual information. Now remember, while you're dimensioning, that you always place smaller dimensions within the larger dimension and never repeat a dimension in any other view. You only require it to be placed once. Let's put in the measurements. Let me put the guides back up. Get the ruler and measure the thing from. If I zoom in, I think it'll make the job a lot easier. Remember, Control plus is all you need to do. Okay, let's get onto that guide. Hold the Shift key and go to the next one. There you go. And that was 19.5. You know what? Whatever you put there, I'm not going to measure it to see if you're right. So just do the right thing for yourselves. Okay, all right. Now it's important whenever you type in a number or a letter or whatever, you don't do it near a line, because as soon as you do that, it converts the line into a path for the text. So you've got to do it separately, and I think for that purpose I've created a specific layer for it. No, I haven't. Okay, so what you've got to do is just be mindful, type away somewhere, and then type in your distance, your dimension, your measurement, and please do it at the correct size. You can use any sans serif, but it must be a 10 point. Type character and let's go 10. That is good. Das Auto. And this one is, according to the transform tool, it shows me 15. So to make life easier, what I tend to do is this: Control C, Control F, and that way all I'm doing is adjusting that. To check if your numbers are aligned, just drag down a guide. We need to deal with this thing here. Now, when it comes to some very, very small spaces, there are different rules that apply. You can actually just put the number in that space.
You can also reduce the size of the text. Let's finish our dimensioning.
Um, that looks pretty good. I might lower all this stuff further down. Before I do, I'm just going to select all the lines and make them smaller, and that's good. Select all that information. Okay, I think now that makes a bit more sense. What we've done is simply to put the length with the other increments. It all kind of fits together nicely, rather than having things so far apart. Next, cross sections and labeling.